Welcome back to the Rev Life podcast. Our motto here has always been simple: own your health, run your life. But here's the simple truth: you can't run your life if you're constantly reacting to a health crisis after it happens. Too often, the systems we rely on, from the standard medical testing to conventional wellness advice, aren't built to help you take true ownership. They're designed to react to problems after the damage is already done. Taking true ownership means getting ahead of the curve. It's about questioning the status quo, exploring the science behind the choices you make every single day, and making precision changes before things become costly, chronic, or even irreversible. In this series, we're diving into the full spectrum of your health to stop guessing and start building a life of proactive, optimal health. Today's episode is titled Stop Guessing, Start Testing, the Ultimate Health Shortcut. I'm joined by Lavern and Maggie as we dive into why functional testing is the ultimate tool for proactive health, how to read between the lines of what normal labs are, and how you can use your biological data to truly own your health. Who's excited? Let's dive in.
Me, I'm excited.
And with that, I want to introduce Maggie. Tell us who you are.
Hello, everybody. I'm Maggie Tamez. I am a certified Harvard nutritional planner, and I help with diabetics to do more meal planning and um, make things really taste good because I spent probably my first 20 years as a chef and then went into the nutrition side of things.
Awesome. And Laverne?
Hello, everyone. I am Lavern Dennis. I am your lifestyle transformation coach and the creator of the Inflammation Reset Method. I support boomers to reduce the burdens of chronic disease inflammation naturally through healthy habits and lifestyle changes as so that they can reclaim their freedom to enjoy life again.
I love that. That brings me uh, very close to heart. And last but not least, your host for today, my name is Amarilys Lopez, has someone that lost 55 pounds, incredible weight loss journey, and actually kept it up after being stuck in the same cycle of losing the same 20 pounds for 20 years. I totally get how looking for answers and not being able to. So when I had the opportunity to speak about, to select this topic and talk about it, it really resonated with me. So now that everybody has been introduced and we have, three amazing experts, that we are going to have such a great time. So first of all, we are going to talk about the elephant in the room. And what is the elephant in the room? Is the standard normal rangers. And I think this question would be best first for Laverne. Are you up for it?
Sure.
All right. So probably you have had a lot of clients that, their labs come back completely normal when they start working with you. Yet they feel terrible. They probably have all these symptoms, bloating. Probably you can expand a little bit more on that. So my question is, what would you say is the single most dangerous marker to ignore when it falls in that normal range?
What is the single marker? First, I want to say we would never ignore the warning light on our car or most of us would never ignore the warning light on our car, simply because that is the alert telling us that something is wrong. Our body have a way of doing that, but we really have to pay attention. And this is where being just the CEO of your body comes in. You have to start paying attention to the little aches and pains and the discomforts that you're experiencing, because there are no blinking light that says something is up. So the markers that I would say that to start paying attention to when you go to the doctor, that is, because that's where you're going to get the markers. Normally you would have to pay attention to yourself, but when you go to the doctor and he says, your blood pressure number is 140 over 90. Maybe you want to, we'll just watch that for a few minutes. One of the challenges that I have with conventional medicine is that they are always ready to give you a pill for an ill. I don't believe that is the road we should be taking. I feel that there's so many different, most medications are being created with natural substances. So why not just try some natural stuff first before we go to the pill for the ill? And so with that, I would say when you're being told, I always believe that you need to get those numbers first. When you're being told that you have a situation, that's when you need to take charge of your health and do some research, get that second opinion, if it's depending on how drastic it is, and start moving in that direction. Now, if that doesn't work after you get a second and third opinion, then maybe you might want to try, the conventional. But I really believe, and I'll give you a very brief example. I had a situation with my shoulder, and I went to the doctor. We had the MRI, and he says, well, I'm going to give you some. And I said, he looked at me because we knew each other well, and he said, I know you want to try some normal anti-inflammatory. I said, yes. He gave me the script for the physical therapist. I saw, and I did my regular, omega-3s and all that good stuff. And I'm fine. I didn't need all that other stuff that he was offering. And again, we really, really need to know our body, do the research, and take charge of our own health.
Thank you for that analogy of the car. I just love it, because the reality is that, many times we ignore the signals that our bodies are telling us. Any thoughts on that, Maggie?
I do. So a lot of what Lavern said was a great place to start, and I have a couple of differing opinions. I am the kind of person who really encourages people to challenge really what is going on. So some of what Lavern was talking about, when you start to feel bad, when you have, brain fog, when you are struggling with minor stiffness, irritations, these kind of things. For example, like I've been dealing with problems with my shoulder. It doesn't hurt. There is no major pain, but it'll twinge sometimes. And then it feels tired and fatigued more often. But I've gone ahead and I've scheduled an appointment with my primary care physician to have it take a look at, because that's not optimal. I can't do all of the things that I want to do. And we're talking about to test or not to test, and what are the issues. And I do think that it starts with us knowing I feel limited in what I want to do. And if you feel limited in what you want to do, you do need to go in and talk to someone. And to her point about, like, if the first thing that they do is take 2 aspirin, challenge that. Don't just go to another doctor, but really challenge the doctor that you have. Like, I want to understand what are some of the things that can lead to this. I want to be able to know what are some of the options that I can do to prevent the pain from starting, not just take an aspirin that will reduce the pain after it starts. That's really what I would challenge people to do. That's what taking ownership of your health really means to me, is trying to figure out what the underlying cause of the brain fog, the joint stiffness, all of these things are, not just, are there alternative treatments? Um, and it may come to simple fixes like, I was so blessed to be in a seminar recently where they were talking about our spine health. And one of the things that they talked about was that a lot of people are having lower back issues because of laptops, because laptops are down here and we are looking like this, and our head is being held like this all of the time. And that not only creates stress in our neck and our shoulders, but it creates stress in our lower back. But does the doctor ever tell you, we need to adjust your posture to prevent the pain from happening? They don't. But if you start asking the questions, what typically causes this kind of response, we can start getting to the real root of where the issues are coming from versus just how to treat them after they get started. That's really one of my big points. And I do think testing is really important, because after something starts, the tests can help us identify where it's coming from, especially if we're talking about something internal, like my tummy is upset. It is really hard when you can't see something and there is just this vague feeling of not feeling well, and there's like 6 organs all packed next to each other. I am not a medical doctor. This is not medical advice. Um, this is just, the general kind of thing. But you don't know whether it's an appendix or a pancreas or your actual stomach or your upper intestine or your lower intestine. But as far as that question goes, I think the more important question is, what are the most common things that lead to the symptoms that you're experiencing? And then are there things that you can simply go back and do in our habits in our daily lives that can prevent the symptom from ever coming up?
Totally agree with that. And you mentioned optimal. And I think that's the biggest difference, right? When you go normally, conventionally, they're not aiming for optimal, right? They're aiming for, okay, the normal population, and if you are in within that range and you're not even have a disease, then everything's fine. But all of a sudden I'm here with all of these symptoms, and given, like, for example, my own story, I had joint pain. I went on a rabbit hole trying to look for answers, and everything seemed fine. And until I did a bone scan, and there was some arthritis, and I was not even 30. And at that time, it was mild arthritis. So the response I had was, well, you're not there yet. It's not nothing to worry. And I was like appalled with that, because for me, I wanted to be optimal. I wanted to, like Maggie said, uh, I felt limited by my choices because
Mhm.
I, instead of going hiking, I was like, is it gonna be a lot of walking? Struggling
Mhm.
with the stairs. I would not. I would take the elevator, right? So
Mhm.
I was being limited. And if you find yourself that you're limited, it doesn't matter, right? Let me just finish this point. Maggie, you go ahead.
Mhm.
It doesn't matter that if everything seems normal, you gotta keep digging and be an advocate and start asking the questions so
Mhm.
you can get to the root cause of what's causing it instead of just looking for symptoms. And functional testing actually has a broader biomarkers, like things that they will test, that you would be able to see way ahead instead of waiting for damage to be happen. Go ahead.
I just really wanted to hone in because you said it several times. One of the words that I feel like is honestly an enemy and misleading for so many people is the word normal.
Yes.
Because normal changes based on what the majority of the population experience.
Mhm.
And it really struck me a while back. I read an article where they were adjusting the normal ranges for some of these health things because the vast majority of people still had some functionality with these readings, right? And we have become a pain tolerant society. So being in pain is now
Yeah,
normal.
normal.
Mhm.
Yep. It's part of
And
aging, right?
yeah, it's
Mhm.
part of aging. It's to be expected. Like that, but that's not, we shouldn't strive to be normal. And so I just really wanted to call that out because, like, I really want to question this world of normal and I feel fine.
Mm.
Like we do that to ourselves. I feel fine. I can still go do most of what I need to get done. Have you ever heard this one? My mom does this one to me. It drives me crazy. I can do what I need to get done.
Mm. Ah,
Mama, if you're
just
out
because
there
you
and you're
can doesn't
listening
mean
to
you should,
this,
right?
just because you can get done what you need to get done does not mean that you're fine.
Yeah.
One of the, can I just interject?
Of
Yeah.
course. Yeah.
I heard, I spoke to someone a while ago and talking about changing the norms. This person was from Africa, and they were saying that what is considered to be high for us here is normal for them.
Mm.
Their numbers, something like blood pressure of 140 or whatever that number is that he quoted to me compared to ours, is not, it's within the norm for them. Ours is 120, Africa or wherever that was is 140, 150. So what exactly is the norm?
Mm.
And that's just the point I was making.
Exactly.
Normal isn't average for the community and the society, but a that can be a huge range from really low to really high, and really the boundaries, I think is the best word, on normal are determined by when does it get so low that it actually shows like a real problem, when real symptoms reliably show up. And they can show up before you hit the bottom range or the top range. But if you hit the bottom or the top, you are pretty much guaranteed for something to show up, right? And why is that what we are choosing as a boundary?
Is it possible that the pharmaceutical companies have something to do with that? And I
Absolutely.
hate to, I hate to
I'm
call
like,
them out like that, but the normals have been changed because to accommodate them and all the different drugs that they're promoting for these different things, and because so many people are doing alternative stuff, now the normal range has been lowered.
I think everyone in our standard medical system shares a responsibility in this, either through action or inaction. And I believe that as more of us take ownership of our health and we ask those challenging questions to our doctors who are part of that medical system, and encourage our doctors to then take those questions, to the rest of the system, that we might be able to make some changes. If we are not challenging our care physicians at whatever level, whether they are a general family practice or a specialist, they don't have any reason to push for changes or to ask questions. Um, because it does require questions to be asked, for research papers to be done. There has to be enough pressure, really, I think, from
yep.
us as a society where norms are established, to want more studies to be done, more understanding to be done, in order to get better understanding, better options, better improvements historically. So I'm a history buff. I'm going to get a little nerdy for a second, if that's okay. All right. So here's my history thing, right? If you think back to and you learn about medicine from the time it first started back in like the Roman time period, they were dealing with like aches and pains and joints. And until it really started to affect whether or not you could do your daily jobs, people really didn't do anything about it, especially because they could not see inside. And for the longest time, it was forbidden to look inside to try and find out what kind of solutions or what was causing things. And now we have the ability to do that. We've got so much more understanding, but we're still very reactive. And that's one of the big things, is that medicine has always been reactive. It is not until we get to a point, and this has been, thousands of years in the making, that someone stops being able to contribute to the rest of society, that we deem them to be sick, that we deem them to be in need of medical care. And when we start to think of that differently, instead of it being reactive, how do we fix a problem that's come up? When we start to think of medical care as, how do we maintain the best lifestyle quality? And our goal as a society is for everybody to be at their best health. And there are different societies that have done really well with this. They're blue zones, and these are
Yep.
people who are living to 100, 110. Like, they're saying that 150 is actually going to be an achievable
Yep.
age for us.
Yes.
And it all starts with us being open to and willing to be the owner of our own health, what its outcomes is, and asking those kind of questions. Thank you for that history moment nerdiness.
No, definitely. And I just wanted to give some quick perspective. I'm sure by for everyone that's listening that hopefully by now you guys see the importance of doing the right questions, asking the right questions, and for testing. Because the reality is as the population gets sicker, the standards in normal rangers become wider. And that's why even like the blood pressures, they have continued to minimize. And then as we get sicker and sicker, they have been expanded. So keep an eye on that, they shouldn't go widen. Like we should strive to actually be more advocate, right? And decreasing them exactly to actually feel at our best. And I love that what you say about, 150. Who would have thought that those conversations, but it's real and it's attainable, it's achievable. You just got to follow certain different actions and push back on the status quo, right? And be an advocate for your own health instead of just waiting on the sidelines and just waiting, right? And waiting it for it to be too late. And I can attest that everybody here knows the importance of doing that and taking ownership, because we have done it with our own health. And I do want to change gears a little bit and talk briefly about metabolic health. And this question is for Maggie, because since she is currently helping people lives with diabetes, generally, right, type 2 diabetes. So how long did it take for you to get tested to know your A1C?
Ooh, see, I this is a guilty confession, and she already knows that. But I really did not go and get tested and learn what my A1C was until I had gotten to the point where neuropathy had already started in my feet and my legs. And honestly, the neuropathy had gotten to the point where it wasn't just my feet that were numb, that my entire legs were numb, when I went to go see the doctor. And when I went to go see the doctor and got tested, my A1C was over 12, which, if you're not familiar with the range, that is like double the cutoff point before getting into being considered diabetic, pre-diabetic. So it is a ridiculously terrible number. And I waited so long because I was able to go to work and I could work all day. I could fulfill what I needed to fulfill so that I could bring home a paycheck to take care of my family. And as long as I was able to do that, then it was more important to me to go to work than it was to go to the doctor. And I felt like I was discouraged from taking time off to go work. If I requested a day off, they were very concerned about this, and my days off weren't really convenient for me to schedule doctor's appointments on my day off. And it just felt like it wasn't an option. And I of all of the things in my life, waiting on that, I think, is one of the things that I regret the most. Because of that decision or lack of decision, inaction is still a decision. I really got to the point where my health then limited so many of my options. And I was physically incapable of continuing with the job that I was doing because I didn't have enough time or energy to give my body the rest and recovery that it really needed to fix the issues that had built up over the last 15 years that I had been doing the job. And so I know that's a really long answer to a very simple question, but I feel like it's really important because that mentality that feeds into normal is one of the reasons why that word upsets me greatly. I use drama to deflect, but honestly, like it was a huge impact on my life. And if I had been willing to question my employer as to whether or not, you know, the environment that they set up and their outlook towards encouraging and supporting their employees to live a healthy lifestyle, if that had been a little bit different, if I had challenged that, things might have been very different from me. So
Mhm.
that's when I went and got tested. When it became so unbearable that it started to affect my work and being able to support and take care of my children.
Thank you, Maggie, for being vulnerable. No, and I think that says about a lot about you and how you show up as a coach and as a human being. So holding space for you, because this conversations are all about that, right? We are going to dive into, have friendly debates, get a little bit uncomfortable, question our own even thinking. Like even to this day, I even question my own thinking, and instead of asking, what if, what if we be a little bit more proactive and yeah, the vision is good, but let's just take action right now, whatever that looks like. Because sometimes we're thinking we need to do these gigantic changes, and that keeps us stuck, right?
I think that's something Maggie said. This is a topic for another day, but I just want to allude to the fact that if there was insurance, the proper insurance that she had to be able to take the time off and take care of her health and not having to, and meaning, and get paid, then I'm sure she would have looked into it earlier. But because of the system, the way the system is set up, unfortunately, it didn't allow her to make those choices.
And if I could respond to that, because having some of those resources, I think, is really important and it's definitely worth a topic. But I also think part of it really comes into we're all, whether we know it or not, in a societal contract where we have established what is acceptable to be done in society and what is not acceptable to be done in society.
Yep.
And as part of that contract, one of the sad clauses that is part of it is that being able to pay bills is more important than taking care of our personal health. And I think we need to reframe some of that. And it's going to take a lot of people willing to have uncomfortable conversations to stand up for making it more normal. And I do think there are people who are saying it. So the conversation now, by the way, that was 10 years ago when I had that. And in the last 10 years, especially after I have gone into the health and wellness coaching spaces, I have seen so many more people who are asking the same kind of questions that we're asking.
Yep.
But what I would say is it's still not enough. The voices that are asking right now are great, but they are not enough. And I just want to encourage anybody who watches this to share it with someone else and be willing to add your voice, because we do have to hit like a critical mass of people who are willing to speak out in order for changes to happen. Because in order to change a system that has been built and running for 100+ years, depending on how far back in history you want to go, nerd, um, there really does have to be a voice to talk about it. And we've seen this initiative happen over and over again and improvements be made. Um, I'm going to talk about vaccines for just a second, and then I'll turn it back to Amarilys. But I don't remember exactly what year they started creating vaccines for some of the health crises, but there was a literal campaign that went worldwide where people were educating and talking about why vaccines can be so helpful. And then we started establishing vaccines. And there, to this day, there are still people who are pro-vaccine and not pro-vaccine. But we didn't start instituting vaccines being available for choice until a critical number of people were willing to support it, to even make it an option. This proactive medical system that we're talking about, being able to be the owners of our own health outcome and ask for different things and find out different things, it requires that same thing. And it's not to make it mandated, it's to make it a choice. Because right now, for a lot of people, it's not an option. It's not a choice. And that's why I go on YouTube and say all these random things, is so that, eventually it can be a choice.
Choices. We all have a choice. Even when we don't take any action, we still have that choice, right? But what if we actually do a choice that actually makes us feel better and show up for the people that we love the most? If our discussion today has made you feel like you would like to learn more, here's a resource that don't don't only makes it affordable to do functional testing, so you don't have to wait uh, years and years to actually know until it's too late. And this resource is able to track more than 150 biomarkers. It's what I'm currently using to do my testing, and it includes A1C, has a baseline, because most of the times, when you go to a doctor, if you don't ask, I think they're getting better, right? And they're doing that one, but when I did it back in the day, they would not be asking. I would literally have to ask for it.
I know you're going to share, but can I throw something in real quick?
Sure.
So Amarilys is about to share a great resource. I'm going to let her share that. But just so people know specifically about A1C for diabetics, by the way, A1C can help with so many other things other than diabetes, but we'll talk about more about that in other episodes. You can go to Walmart, and at your pharmacy counter, you can ask for a test for an A1C. So if you are wondering, you don't even have to get it from your doctor anymore. Third-party resources are so much more available. But yeah, you can literally go into Walmart and ask them about the A1C testing program that they have.
That's amazing. I didn't know. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for sharing.
The resource I'm going to share, it is also like a third party. You don't need to have a doctor, a medical doctor, because that's sometimes one of the roadblocks with people that, even it's not affordable, or they don't have a primary care right now, or it's kind of a little bit difficult. So the resource that we're going to share, it's going to be down in the comments, in the description below. It's called Function Health, and then we'll be sharing an affiliate link that will get you started to getting, to actually owning your health and running your life, because that's what it's all about, not waiting until it's too late. We want to be proactive. We want to be able to know that you're not crazy, right? That all those symptoms that you're experiencing, they have a reason, right? And our bloods can actually tell us so much about what's actually happening and how it's reflecting in our daily lives. Yep.
Absolutely. And I just want to throw out one more thing before we wrap this up. If you are getting blood tests done, start asking more questions to your doctor when they give you the results. If they say you're normal, ask them what that means.
Yep.
How high or low are you in the range? What are some of the things that you can do about it? What are some of the other things that they found out for? The more questions that you ask to your doctor, the better understanding you'll have, the better decisions that you can make. The better decisions you can make, the better an owner of your health outcome you will be.
I just want to say, when we stop guessing and start testing, we're protecting our health and we're protecting our future. So get the tests, know your numbers, ask the questions, make the informed choices.
And with that, we'll see you all on our next episode.